So the whole point of this trial all along was for Mackenzie to try and find Marvis. And he would also get me as a bonus. Part of me wanted to rely on the jury to find me innocent. However, even if they did find me innocent, they might find Marvis guilty, even though he had no involvement in it. I didn't know why exactly Mackenzie wanted Marvis, but regardless, I'm not going to let that happen. Ever. While the jury was debating and deciding, we were all called out of the courtroom. However, just as I was leaving, Mackenzie's lawyer tapped me on the shoulder. He said that Mackenzie would like to have a nice, friendly discussion with me in one of the empty conference rooms. Alone. Just me and him. Obviously, this is highly suspicious, unorthodox, possibly a trap or some sort of bargaining thing. Either way, everything in that situation should tell you, no, do not do that. However, I wanted some answers, and Mackenzie was the only one who could give me them. So, reluctantly, I agreed. The room in which Mackenzie sat in was fairly dimly lit. As I entered, Mackenzie was already sitting in the furthest chair in the corner of the room, surrounded by shadows, the light only touching certain features, just enough so you could see that it was recognisably him. I closed the door behind me, not taking my eyes off Mackenzie. I didn't want him to try and pull anything while my back was turned. I then sat in the chair that was closest to the door, with a table between me and Mackenzie. It meant that if he did try something, I could shove the table at him and quickly get out the door. After a brief pause, Mackenzie finally opened his mouth.
I am so glad that you agreed to this little meeting.
What is this all about?
This is your trial.
Bollocks to that. You're just going to use me to get to Marvis.
You are going to help me to find Marvis, if the jury decides that.
Why do you want him? Are you going to use him as well? Or are you going to try and persuade him to become your new successor?
That position is very much still open to you.
You can't be serious. Did I not make it clear enough?
True, I was hurt by your actions.
Hurt? You sound like a disappointed parent.
Less of a parent. More of a mentor.
You're all kinds of delusional, you.
I didn't bring you in here.
Oh, no, you didn't bring me in here, full stop. I came of my own free will.
Yes. You want to know why I'm looking for Marvis. And I wanted to talk to you about helping me regardless of the verdict.
I'm not helping you regardless of the verdict.
Really? You said it yourself. You don't really know who Marvis is at all.
Oh, and when did you become some sort of expert on him?
I would hardly claim that. However, I did come across some certain information which I found most fascinating about Marvis.
Why, what did you find?
When Marvis was taking you to that hospital, he was witnessed by many of the staff. However, at the exact same time while that was happening, he was also spotted setting up security for you in a completely different sector of space.
Well, the counts must be wrong then.
I've had them checked and double-checked and cross-referenced with security footage found. Here. Take a look for yourself.
I took the folder that Mackenzie had placed on the table. I opened it and sure enough, there were 2 photos time-stamped by security cameras of 2 different places at the exact same time to the exact second. Marvis was in both of them. I then looked back up at Mackenzie. This can't be true. It's gotta be some optical trickery. Or maybe Marvis has a twin or something.
Optical trickery, no. A twin, highly unlikely. You know that Marvis is able to teleport around to basically wherever he wants to go.
Yes, that's how he's always able to show up.
Yes, but did you also know that it allows him to travel in time?
No, that's not possible.
Why not? You have travelled in time yourself. Is your son not proof of that?
So you're saying Marvis can travel in time? How?
I have no idea, though I would very much like to find out. Wouldn't you? Think of it. If we discovered the secret of Marvis's time travel, think of it. Donfrey, think of the possibilities. You have said that you were never there for your son growing up. With the time travel from Marvis, you then could be. You could go back and be there for Dorothy. Be there when she passed away. You could even stop the Earth from being blown up.
No. What's done is done. I messed up in the past once before. I won't do it again.
You could save your friend, Billy.
No. If Marvis can really time travel, then presumably he knows what he's doing. And besides, what do you want it for anyway?
You know I do not wish to be forgotten. To live forever. With time travel I could. I could continuously go into the future. To continue my own legacy. By myself. Then I would no longer need a successor. You'd be free to live your life, and I'd be free to live mine. You may bury it well now, but I know, deep down, you are still afraid of being forgotten. The only reason that fear has temporarily gone away is because now you think that your son will continue it. At least he will remember you. And perhaps pass it on to his children, and his children's children, and so on. Shut up!
It's not happening.
Do you hear me, McHenry?
It is not happening.
It seems we must let the court decide.
Knowing you, the jury's probably made up of your allies, are they? Or people you've paid off?
No, not at all.
What? Either you're lying or you're stupid. Now what's the point of all this?
It is for people to see Marvis as the true perpetrator. If I start a universal manhunt for him, he will be much easier to find. And as a result, your name gets cleared. Think of it as my little gift for your extremely late baby shower, as I do believe is the tradition on this planet.
You're sick. Utterly sick. You're gonna falsely accuse someone of the destruction of half of a planet and cause a universal manhunt for them just so that you'll be able to find them a lot easier?
Yes. It is the simplest way. It's very logical.
It's inhumane.
No. I do not wish any harm to come to Marvis, quite the opposite. You think I'm going to strap him to a bench and torture him? It's not like that at all. I will just convince him to help me.
Oh yeah, like your convincing works so well on me.
My convincing you isn't over. Anyhow, I'll let you get back to your son and Tom. I'm sure you've got much to discuss with them.
This isn't over, McKendry.
I know, that's the whole point. Oh, and before you go, congratulations on stopping your former commander Spats. I personally never really liked him myself.
I then left the conference room. I can't deny that I wasn't tempted by what McKendry was offering me. Who wouldn't be? the chance to go back and fix everything that had gone wrong. But I knew I couldn't do that. I had to go on. What happened in the past, I can't change, and I won't. I still go on with trying to make a better future. Immediately upon leaving the conference room, I went to go find Tom and James and tell them of everything that McKendry had told me. I also told my lawyer, who said it would be pointless trying to debate this in court and could lead to more severe action taken against me. I asked him how this could be. My lawyer then gave a more colourful description of it, saying that McKendry had basically everyone eating off of his plate. He can do essentially whatever he wants. He's essentially managed to get himself a clean slate by essentially paying people to clean it for him. This appropriately caused me to react in this way. So what are you saying? We can do nothing? You're supposed to be my bloody lawyer! Or is your high price not high enough? He then replied with that his job was simply to defend me and to try and get an innocent verdict, and that any shady business about McKendry would have to be chased up at a later date. Now was not the time to do that. However, I protested to this. What are you talking about? The perfect time is now. He's here, right now. He is being missing for months. He has basically vanished into some little hidey hole, in some distant blank somewhere, and allowed to just get on and do whatever he wants. But here, we have him now, right in the open. Then Tom was the one who stopped me. He said, while that was true about McKendry, it could be equally said to me. I had basically gone off the grid myself, keeping a low profile. Obviously, I had been making public appearances. However, they tended to be at smaller events. This was the largest and most major one that I'd had in the public eye since, well, ever, really. Although I agreed with what Tom said, I didn't like it, as it drew more comparisons between me and McKendry, of how similar we are, and how we're the same. I'll be the first to admit, I made that comparison myself, the first time I met him. But then I had an idea. We might not be able to do anything about it. Well, not now anyway. Though I know who can. I then proceeded to make a call to my own home, where Sally was. You see, while McKendry might have known about James and Dorothy, he most likely didn't know about Sally, and even if he did, there was zero evidence and zero connection to have her have any involvement in my trial whatsoever. So she was essentially free to do whatever she wanted. I was just hoping that it was going to be a favour for me. So I called her up, and I asked her to do a bit of digging on McKendry. I gave her my USB access code, so that she could get into all of USP's files on McKendry. While I'm sure that a thorough clean-up was done to his record, the fact that he would have had other people to do it means that maybe there was just a few little teeny tiny bits that they might have missed. Or just something that would maybe, I don't know, force him to not go back into his little hidey hole. At least to keep him out in the open or in the public eye. Just long enough so we could nail the bastard for something. Anything. So far I'd been getting off scot-free for everything. After about an hour of digging, Sally then called me back. She said she couldn't find anything, and she questioned the legality of doing this. After all, her record was clean, and she didn't want it tarnished for something I did. I then begged her to look for at least another half hour. She said in that case she wanted a complimentary bed and breakfast, made by me. She specifically said that she wanted it to be made by me, not for me to just pay someone to do it or get someone else to make it No, I had to make her the breakfast in bed. To be honest, the way she said it, I couldn't tell whether this was an order, like something which she was demanding, or it was something a bit more flirty, a bit more kinky. I don't know. Either way, I was curious to find out. But, never mind that. Anywho, she continued to look for another half hour, and apparently we were told that the jury had nearly reached a verdict, so we will most likely be called back in soon. I called Sally again, asking if there was anything that she had on McKendry, any solid evidence, or heck, even some flimsy stuff. I would take over nothing. She said no, though she did come up with a good suggestion. If it was true that he was bribing and paying off everyone to have a clean record, then surely there should be some record of the amount he's been spending. It could leak somewhere. Even if there was no record of how much actual money he had, at some point someone would have records of when they'd done business with him. Admittedly, it was a far-fetched thing, and I realised at this point my lawyer's right. There was nothing I could chase upon McKendry today. But Sally had gave us a place to start, a lead on where we would go next. Well, that would be if I still needed to find out the verdict of the jury. If McKendry was true to his word, which sometimes admittedly he was, I'll give him that at least, then not even he would know the jury's verdict. Though I was curious where he would go from there, because it would mean he'd have no custody over me. So how on earth was he going to find Marvis? True, he said, open up a manhunt for him. But even so, then again, the way his mind works, I imagine if you gave him a chicken egg, he'd somehow think of a way to make it hatch into a pig. If you offered him all the money in the world or in the universe, he would simply turn it down. But if you had something that was essentially worthless but of some sentimental value, then he would steal that. Simply for the reason that you would remember him. He would absolutely let you know that he committed the crime. Not because he wanted to show how good of a thief he was or how smart he was, simply because he's desperate not to be forgotten. And when that fear starts to become real to him, as, for example, he realises that there is a very real possibility that he'll just be forgotten, that's when his true self emerges. And unfortunately, I can sometimes see a reflection in it, in myself. Something I do not wish to see. But, however hard I try, I cannot deny that it is there. As we all re-entered the courtroom, the feeling that I could have just had my last piece of freedom was going through my mind. While there was non-stop chatter from just outside the courtroom a few moments ago, now there was complete silence. The judge hadn't even battered his gavel yet. The only sound that could be heard was of a camera crew getting into position, ready to live broadcast the verdict. I imagine this trial would also annoy people who were against me, because, in effect, the trial wasn't really about me, so the people who were against me wouldn't be happy, and the people who were for me for my innocence, they wouldn't be happy either. Either way, this trial was pleasing no one, apart from Spix McKendry. This whole debacle was for him, and no one else. No one else would get any satisfaction from this apart from him. And heck, if it was that I was to be found innocent, and it didn't cause a universal manhunt for Marvis, then he would be dissatisfied as well. There would literally be no point to anything. On the bright side, if I was found innocent, at least then hopefully I could get back to my life. Though, now it was going to be filled trying to take McKendry down. Either way, no matter what happened, McKendry would still be a part of my life. In a way, he couldn't lose. Found guilty? Then I'd be forced to help him find Marvis. True, I would do an extremely bad job of it, but still that was not very desirable. or if I win, I get my freedom again. The only thing I want to do is to find and gather evidence to take down MacKendry and imprison him once and for all. Then the jury finally re-entered the room. Time appeared to slow down, almost to a standstill. Even though my punishment won't be as severe as this if found guilty, it did feel like if they would read out a guilty verdict, they'd be giving me a death sentence. Everyone apart from the jury in the courtroom seemed to be utterly frozen. Even MacKendry didn't seem to be moving a single muscle. As the last member of the jury finally took their place, they almost appeared to be like a cult. The judge then finally asked the titular question. "Has the jury reached a verdict?" As he said that, I could feel my heart rate increase. I felt tired and exhausted, yet I wasn't moving an inch. The jury member that was positioned closest to the judge replied, "We have, Your Honour." My blood pressure had now risen again. I felt like I might explode or die of a heart attack. There was also the temptation to just run out of the court, to not have to face the verdict and sentence. Obviously that wasn't going to happen, and even if I did try it, there were a plethora of people outside, so I wouldn't exactly get very far. The jury member then raised up a piece of paper and then read it aloud. "We find the defendant, Donfrey Daniel Doncaster, not guilty." I breathed a sigh of relief. Then everyone on my side of the court began cheering and applauding the verdict, though I did look to the prosecutor's side of the court. All of them remained silent and motionless, with neutral expressions on their faces. Apart from Spix MacKendry, he looked me directly in the eyes, smiled, and clapped himself. True, he could just be being ironic, though I think he was being sincere. Either way, to him he got exactly what he wanted, or at least he thought he had. To him it didn't matter whether I was found innocent or guilty. The whole point was to put the blame on Marvis, so that he would have an excuse for hunting him down. But regardless, for that moment, in that courtroom, I didn't care. It meant that finally, the whole business of me being responsible for blowing up half the earth felt like it was over, that there'd been time to start healing and finally being ready to move on. Obviously, as I left the courthouse, there was an army of reporters asking me questions. However, my lawyer basically took care of that and just gave them generic answers. And in fact, MacKendry's lawyer did the exact same thing. As I was leaving, I took one last look back at MacKendry. Despite all the press surrounding him, he did take a moment to once again look me in the eye and just smile. I had no idea what he was thinking, but I knew that we would meet again. The only place I wanted to go to after the trial was straight back home. We had a celebration that evening. It wasn't a huge thing. After all, the attendees were only myself, James, Tom, and Sally. Later that evening, when Tom had finally gone home, James had gone to bed, as well as Sally, I sat in my back garden, watching the Scarverers as they also fell to a slumber. I had placed a chair next to mine, which after about half an hour became filled. I looked over and said, "Took you long enough, Marvis." Marvis had teleported in and had sat in the chair. I had a feeling that he'd be coming. Not even he could ignore what had gone on today at the trial, especially as it had been broadcast. I said to him, "So you've seen the results?" "I'm sorry. I swear, I'll do everything to stop MacKendry." He only replied with, "I know you will." I then, though, proceeded to ask him, what would he do now? He said that obviously some people would go along with MacKendry's manhunt for him, but he imagined it wouldn't be the amount MacKendry was probably hoping for. I then suddenly realising said to him, "Oh, I'm sorry, but I just realised I never said thank you For saving me, I mean. And Tom as well. Marvis then looked me directly in the eyes, and then out to the Scarborough. He said that I'd thanked him for everything I said about him at the trial today. I gazed out at the Scarborough myself, and then when I looked back, the chair was empty again. Marvis was gone, back to God knows where. But wherever he is, I hope he's safe and able to live his life. I doubt McKendry will ever be able to find him. And heck, even if it was a guilty verdict, and I was willing to help him, I won't have the first clue on how or where to find Marvis. He just comes and goes as he pleases. But that's fine. That's his life. He can do whatever he wants. And after everything he's done to help me, why should I question it? This may have been one of the most stressful days of my life, and a day that I'd been dreading for a very, very long time. Though the evening was one of the most pleasant and relaxing times that I'd had in a very, very long time. I think if you were to balance it out, I think you would see that was just an average day. So if this was average out as an average day, God knows what tomorrow would bring for me.